Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's market snapshot. Today, the 26th of July, 2023. And I'll be taking you through the snapshot today. Morning, Lemuel. Most welcome. Okay, so today, of course, as you know, this week is a big week because we have a number of bank conferences and bank meetings. First of all, of course, for the one for today, we have a final conference happening today. That's for the Federal Open Market Committee. They had meetings starting from Monday, and today they're finalizing that with a conference. And of course, as you know, today it's going to be quite a volatile day. Morning, Felix, largely because of the Fed rate decision. And of course, as you can see, the market is quite volatile. This is because markets are waiting for that rate decision that's going to happen later. Morning, Boniface. Yeah. So before I take you through the calendar, I just want to take you to the CME Fed Watch tool here, as you can see. And this, of course, is indicating to you what the target rate probabilities are for today's meeting. Yeah. So for today's meeting, or for today's conference, markets are anticipating that the past 2-day meetings, the members of the Federal Open Market Committee have decided to keep the rates unchanged. That's at 90 with a probability of 98.9%. So currently, the target range for the Fed is between 5.25 to 5.5, and markets anticipating that it will remain within that range. This is largely because of a data that has been coming out. The inflation data we got earlier this month for June indicated that inflation was starting to decelerate. And of course, it's just 1% away from the Fed target of 2%, which is a strong indication that markets actually now are expecting that the Fed is going to start winding down on their rate hikes. The other thing that, of course, we are going to look out for Powell to say today. Yes, hi, Redemptor, hi, Drew, hi, Francis, you're most welcome. The other item that is going to be important today for the markets is whether we are likely to have rate hikes coming out later in the September meeting. So after this meeting of July, the next meeting we're going to have for the Fed is going to be in September. Yeah, so if rates are unchanged today at the current target range of 5.25 to 5.5, then we might see a rally happening for the risky assets. And of course, that is because the Fed will be coming close to the end of their rate hikes. However, if we get a pause and Powell indicates to us that it's likely that they are going to continue with their rate hikes in the future meetings and the future months, it's likely also that risky assets or the stock indices, the major pairs, the ones where the base is not the dollar, we might have a reversal happening today as we go into as we proceed through Q3. Yeah, so that's largely what we are anticipating for. Of course, as you can see, the buy is looking quite strong because this is 98.9%. So unless otherwise, the markets are already aware of what could potentially come out from the Fed meeting. Yeah, so let's cross over to the economic calendar for today. As you can see here, we had some data coming out earlier in the session. That was Australia CPI data, and it indicated that there was a decline in the CPI year over year. That's a headline number from 5.6% to 5.4%. Yes, Bank of Japan is having its meeting on Friday. And the latest that I have, at least as per last week, Owen, was they're still going to continue with their yield curve control program. And however, there was a report that came out from Barclays Securities, and they were indicating that it's likely that the BOJ may likely pause this program or may start considering to come to the end of the program. However, I still believe the Bank of Japan will maintain negative interest rates, and they're going to keep their yield curve control program until they achieve their inflation target. And of course, as you know, the major reason why we're having the JPY having relative weakness is because that program is still intact. And the latest that we got from the BOJ government was last week was that their program is still going to be maintained. However, if we get a change of that stance on Friday, the Friday meeting conference, that's at 6 a.m. rather 7 a.m., then it's likely maybe that we shall have a change in approach for the JPY going into the rest of the quarter. Yeah. So as we proceed, so the main events we have the Fed conference that is today at 9:30. When the interest rate comes out at 9 a.m. rather at 9 p.m. That's East African time. It's likely, of course, that we are going to have a strong reaction taking place on the market, most especially the major pairs. We will most probably see subdued dollar weakness, of course, on anticipation that the Fed is going to start, winding down on their rate hikes. However, we'll also be looking out for the Fed statement. If on the statement they indicate that they are considering future interest rate hikes, then we might see the dollar having some kind of strength going into the Fed conference. Additionally, also to just maybe add more information on that, we also need to look out for what Powell is going to say regarding recession. Please take note that in the June meeting minutes, we had the FOMC, the committee had indicated that the US is likely to go into a mild recession. So we need to see what Powell is going to say regarding that. Of course, maybe additionally, the US Secretary of Treasury, that was Janet Yellen, indicated, I think, sometime last month in an interview with Bloomberg that the US is unlikely to go through a recession. So we are still kind of wondering what the final remarks are regarding that. However, of course, markets have been on tension because we know that the yield curve, the shorter term treasuries have been indicating higher rates compared to the longer term treasuries or bonds. And of course, this usually is attributed to an early recession signal. So again, the other thing, of course, is a number of market players have been saying that whenever that happens, it usually happens because the markets, rather rate hikes are happening. So if we are to go by Yellen's remarks, it's likely that a recession may not be something to worry about in the US. Yeah, so by far and large, that's majorly what we have. Of course, we also have building permits, which of course, if they increase, this will be bullish for the dollar, as well as also for the risky assets like the stock indices. And also it will be a strong indication that the real estate sector, is booming. If we cross over to new home sales, that of course is also a strong economic indicator, which of course will be bullish for the dollar, as well as also for the different other risky assets like the stock indices. Yeah. So majorly, of course, as you know, you're seeing crude oil inventories there. The crude oil inventories that came out last week were in favor of a bullish oil price, that's US oil. And of course, as you know, Saudi Arabia, as well as also Russia, have been doing supply cuts, which of course in the market, usually when you reduce the supply or inventories for oil, that of course usually provides you a higher oil price. So we're going to look out for that data at 5:30. If we get a lower crude oil inventories number, then this will indicate to us that we are going to have a higher price for oil. Let's just cross over to the charts quickly and see what's happening over on the charts as we proceed with the snapshot. Okay, so to start us off, I think let's just start with oil, since I'm just from handling the crude oil inventories. Yeah, so for oil, we've been having quite a number of bullish flags on oil. You're going to see the chart in a moment. You're going to see the US oil chart in a moment, the 4-hour. Yeah, so there have been quite a number of bullish flags on oil, which is a strong indication that oil is having strong movement to the upside. If we have a lower crude oil inventories number coming out at 5:30, that's 1 hour into the US session. we might be having, we might see a much higher oil price, and we're most probably in the short term looking for a retest of that level. That's above the $81 dollar price, which we last saw sometime in April this year. And as you can see, the momentum, of course, and the catalysts that are providing a higher price for oil, first of all, is the supply cuts from the OPEC members, that's Russia and Saudi Arabia. So, of course, as you can see, oil is having really a bullish bias at the moment, and we are most probably going to have a continued higher price for oil as we go into the rest of the week, and of course, the rest of the quarter. Unless otherwise, we'll have to wait to see whether the next OPEC proceedings indicate that they are going to have their cuts are reduced. Yeah. So essentially, what's happening is that for Saudi Arabia, they decided they are going to reduce their production of their oil by about 1 million barrels per day, which of course is having a strong indication on the oil price. When we cross over to Euro USD, so Euro USD, the reason why we had a slump on Euro USD sometime last week is because of one of the comments by one of the members of the ECB Governing Council, which is Clot. He indicated that the rate hike bets, morning Manene, the rate hike bets for ECB are likely to reduce. And we know that, of course, the reason why the euro would continue having a rally would largely be dependent on the ECB having continued rate hikes. But they indicated that we should not expect September hikes. And this might be because we are having disinflation starting to reflect in Europe. If this continues, then of course it's going to put a bit of short-term to medium pressure on the euro. However, if we get a pause in interest in rate hikes today, and also if we get some comments from Powell that their rate hikes are most probably not going to continue in the future meetings, then it might also provide some bit of upside momentum for the euro. Just also to include something on that, guys. Please take note. Powell does not speak very directly with his comments, so he will not outrightly say that they're not going to have rate hikes. Usually, the Fed is very crucial with sharing information. They most probably will tell you something like rate hikes are going to be data dependent. Previous data has indicated to us that we might reconsider future decisions regarding rate hikes. So comments like that most probably will be interpreted as the Fed starting to pull back on future rate hikes. Yeah, so that of course is going to provide some bit of upside momentum. Yeah, however, on Thursday we know we have the ECB meeting. We have the ECB meeting for Europe. So of course, if we have this ECB meeting taking place, it's most probably going to be an indication that we are likely to have an upside push on the Euro USD pair. However, additionally, please take note that between today and Thursday, we will see a different picture on the Euro USD, and of course, when the ECB comes out with its decision, that's 3:15 tomorrow, then of course we'll see what happens. But as of now, the euro is going to benefit from short-term upside as markets anticipating that the Fed will potentially wind down on its rate hikes. Yeah. When we look at the MACD down there, as you can see, the MACD is also starting to decline to the downside, which is an indication that the euro is most probably starting to have a potential to reverse to the upside, and we'll potentially see what happens with that as we proceed into the rest of the trading day today. Yeah. So speaking for gold. So gold, of course, the reason why we're having gold, yes, Franklin, I'm just going on to gold. The reason why we have gold moving to the upside, of course, as you know, the pre-FOMC bias for gold is a buy one. And of course, the reason why gold is buying is because the market's anticipating that the Fed is going to start winding down its rate hikes. And of course, as you know, if we're talking about winding down of rate hikes, then of course that indicates that risky assets are starting to move upwards. So these risky assets, we're talking about Euro USD, we're talking about pound dollar, we're talking about every single asset where the base is not the dollar, the base currency is not the dollar, we have an upside moving on that. So gold, of course, the reason why we're having gold moving up is largely because of that. And as you can see here, we had some really good liquidity sweeps to the upside on gold. And we had even a really nice bullish flag here. And as you can see, even here, there was also another liquidity sweep we had to the upside here on gold, which is indicating that we might have potential to the upside. And gold, of course, as of now, we have to see whether we can take out this level right here, which we saw that was on the day for initial jobless claims last week. If we have price this level here being taken out, then of course gold is going to start to look for a medium term, a higher high, which of course will be somewhere around this level here. Yeah, so it will really depend on what we see going forward as we proceed into the rest of the quarter and the rest of the day today. If we have Powell indicating, or maybe during the statement indicates that the Fed is not going to have a tone down on their rate hikes, then of course we'll see gold slumping, and we need to look for a potential break of this ascending trend line here, which will essentially take us into a new area. However, gold is still so far away. From where it was. That was in this area here, which was the descending trend line on the daily. So gold, it's really hard to say that gold is bearish, and that's of course because it has left this descending trend line, and it has remained having price action above it, which is also one of the reasons why we need to see what happens as we go forward. Crossing over to GBP JPY, I'll go to AUDNZ in a moment. Yeah, so for GBP JPY, speaking about it briefly, we get to see what happens with the Friday meeting for the Bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan indicates to us that they are still determined to have inflation responding a bit more than it is responding now in Japan. Then of course we'll have the JPY breaking above this descending trend line here to the upside, and of course the medium and long-term target is this level here, which we last saw around 6th of July. This was earlier this month. And of course, you know that GPJPY had a strong rally in June. It was up about 6% on the month. So it's still having a bit of, of consolidation in this level. As you can see here, we had a bullish flag on the H1, which was broken, and we have now had another sort of like consolidating symmetrical triangle here. So we might essentially have a break above or a break below. It will largely depend on how the Japan meeting goes on Friday. Yeah. So crossing over to Nasdaq. So Nasdaq, yesterday Nasdaq had a sell-off. This was because of this small earnings for Google. Rather for Microsoft. Microsoft was down 2% after hours for the US session. This was because they had a miss on their earnings. But however, Google had strong earnings. It was up about 6%. And of course, the reason for that is the reason why we are seeing that Nasdaq had a sell at this point here. However, the bias to the upside is still intact for Nasdaq. Nasdaq is up roughly about 35% year to date, which is an indication that it's a bull's territory. This Nasdaq that we have here, so we were potentially going to see a move upwards there for Nasdaq. Yeah. So let me just quickly check GBP USD, and after I can check the two charts that people are commenting about in the chat there. So for GPUSD, of course, as we know, we are most probably going to have, we have had a break above this symmetrical triangle here. And we are anticipating that the Fed's decision that we're going to have later today is going to see us retest this level here, which we last saw on the 20th. That was around the day for the initial jobless claims. If we have a retest of this level, then definitely GPUSD most probably is going to go and have a test of this level that we saw on the day for the CPI, for UK CPI. Remember, UK CPI disappointed. So we had GPUSD having a sell. And of course, the markets are most probably going to have a potential move to the upside. That is if we have a pause in the rate hikes. If we fail to have a pause in the rate hikes, then of course GPUSD most probably is going to have a sell. Yeah. Also important to note, the Bank of England is meeting on the 3rd of August, so which is still some time away from now. And of course, it's also one of the key events which is going to be a really strong catalyst as we go into the next few weeks of the quarter. So I'm going to quickly check. Is that AUDNZ? Dope memes, can you please clarify what AU is? I seem to be lost when you say AU. Are you meaning AUDNZ? Please just clarify that. But in the meantime, let me just check out Anne's AUDNZ. Okay, so for AUDNZ, let's just see what we're working with here. Let's see. So first off, just by looking at it, we have quite a number of whipsaws, upside, downside, upside, downside. However, I see that the bias here is potentially an upside bias. That's because I'm seeing quite a number of bullish flags here. And also, I'm also seeing that price there's a lot of demand on the candles. We're having quite a number of demand candles more than supply candles or bearish candles. Which is an indication that we are potentially seeing an upside movement here for AUDNZ. The other one, of course, we had the CPI coming out to the downside for AUD, which of course is a likely indication that we are going to see some bit of a bullish momentum for the AUD in the short term. Yeah. So as of now, there's a nice double top there. Which we had on AUDNZ. As you can see, price decelerated lower. So we need to see whether we can potentially break this double top here. Of course, if we break that double top, we are going to have a nice momentum to the upside. But however, there are quite a number of liquidity sweeps to the upside, which is an indication that this is a bull's territory on this particular currency. So we just have to watch out and see what happens later. USD/JPY. So USD/JPY, you've just reminded me, I'd actually just forgotten to check that one out. So when we met last week, I told you that USD/JPY was looking for a potential break of this ascending trend line here. And we took that ascending trend line out when we had a really strong impulsive break to the upside. This was largely because of Keizo Yuda's comments. That's the Bank of Japan's governor, and he indicated that the Bank of Japan is still going to continue with their yield curve control program and potentially see inflation, increasing in Japan. That's why price maintained movement to the upside. And again, the other thing, of course, when we are having price having a really good bullish we're having a really good bullish flag here, which is an indication that the USD/JPY is going to have some upside momentum. However, we have two key events as catalysts for this. One of them being the Fed meeting. So if we have a Fed meeting, if you have a pause happening, then of course this is likely going to have JPY having some strength, and we'll have a retest of this level right here, which we saw just sometime last week. And of course, if we have the poll indicating that the rate hikes are potentially going to continue, essentially if indicates somehow with this language that rate hikes are going to be data dependent. However, we are still focused to the hawkish sentiment, things like that. If we get such comments coming in, then of course that will be dollar bearish, and of course it will provide some strength for the JPY going into later the session. Okay, so I think AU, I don't know that you mean AUDNZ, most probably that's what you mean. So Rufas, you're saying, what do you think JPY will say, higher for longer or level for longer? Yeah, so for now, I still feel that the Fed most probably is going to indicate to us that their decisions going into the next meetings will be largely data dependent. But however, going by the inflation, which has been their crucial issue, we are seeing that inflation most probably is going to make them change their stance where they will most probably have rate hikes not being higher for longer, because the inflation is just 1% away from their longer term target. Additionally, also, we're also seeing that if maybe inflation is moving as they hope it's moving, and it's decelerating, they will now indicate to us how they observe the labor market. If the labor market is still quite tight and we're having issues of nominal wage growth increasing, then it's likely that we are potentially going to have the Fed remaining hawkish. Yeah, so it will largely depend on what Powell indicates. I think also additionally to that, we have the PCE data coming out later in the week. The PCE data, as you know, is the Fed's inflation target. And if we have PCE coming in, to lower, then it might also provide Fed another reason for them to switch from keeping rates higher for longer and potentially having a switch to them for the rates coming lower. Yeah, so PCE is coming out on Friday. So this PCE data is also going to be really crucial. And if we have a lower PCE number, then of course it will fully support the Fed. It will fully support the Fed to, have a switch from their current stance of inflation being an issue in the US. Yeah, so I think two things you have to look out for. First one is what Paul will say regarding the current decline we're having in inflation. Secondly, will be what we have with his observation of the labor market. For labor market, we are not having nominal wage growth being a problem for the Fed. Then, of course, it's going to be a strong indication that they are going to have a reversal with their rate hikes. So as I wind up, I'm going to quickly check AUDNZ. And then we wait and see what goes on, what happens later, as we see later in the week, or rather later in the session for today. The EU session, as well as also the USD session. Okay, so for AUDNZ, first thing, as you know, China is looking at doing a stimulation for the economy, which of course is providing a lot of strength for the Chinese yuan. Additionally, I think you're also aware that the People's Republic Bank of China has also been doing offshore and onshore sales of the dollar, which has been providing a bit of strength for the yuan. And of course, looking at the carry trade for the AUD, that of course is providing some strength for the AUD. So I think in the medium term, there's still quite a bit of strength for the AUD. And we might see a break of these levels here. And again, looking at inflation declining, that of course has put a bit of limited strength for AUD to the upside. Of course, as you know, when inflation declines, it's usually AUD bullish, rather bearish. So we wait and see what happens with the yuan. If we get a stronger yuan within this session, as well as later within the week, we are most probably going to have a stronger AUD. We'll also wait and see what happens with the Reserve Bank of Australia, which meets on the 1st of August. If they indicate that they are going to potentially keep with their rate hikes, then we are going to see the Australian dollar having some strong momentum to the upside, and we are going to test really strong levels. We are going to see some really good momentum happening. So as you can see right now, AUD seems to be in a declining channel, if you can see on the H4, which is indicating to us that we need to see a break of this asset descending trend line for us to see AUD. And of course, for us to see that break, it will largely depend on what the Reserve Bank of Australia determines. However, additionally to that, we're also having a really strong liquidity sweep to the upside, which is an indication that there's a lot of potential for the AUD to move upwards. Yeah, so that's what I can say regarding AUDNZ. And so CAD CHF, again, CAD catalyst for an upper move for the CAD is going to be the crude oil inventories we are having later. If we get stronger crude oil inventories to the downside, rather upwards to the upside, then it's going to be CAD bearish. If we have a lower crude oil inventories number, then we are going to have CAD moving to the upside. So quickly, I think I can see a bearish flag happening here on CAD CHF. So we need to potentially see price moving to break this channel here potential move to the upside. And as you can see, we had quite a bit of a sell-off on the left side for CAD CHF. You can see this move that we had here. So we might have price maybe potentially going to fill this gap that we had. This could have been maybe some news of some kind. So we have to see what happens. And remember that a stronger oil price has been supporting the Canadian dollar. So it's likely that we'll have price moving to the upside. If we fail to break this level here, then of course, we are going to have, CAD CHF rotating back to the downside. Yeah. So, and again, as you can see here, let's just look at the moving averages and see what's happening with them. So the moving averages here, we're having the longer period moving average above the shorter period moving average, which is a bearish indicator. And however, this is still the same also here. So there seems to be a bit of a bearish momentum for CAD CHF, and we have to see how the catalysts pan out later for us to have a change in sentiment for that. Yeah. So I think by far and large, that's essentially what we're having. We just have to wait and see what happens later on Wednesday, later in the US session. We have to wait and see what Powell indicates to us. So just to urge you guys, please maintain good sound judgment. Also, if you have not done news trading before, or you've never interfaced the Fed conference before, please don't trade during it. It's better to trade after the markets have digested the data. However, if you seem to have a good understanding of how the dynamics around the Fed meetings, then of course you could say you could potentially trade. However, please ensure risk management as you trade, so that you're able to have sustainable trading. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for today's snapshot. And I wish you guys an awesome trading day. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Have a good one.